Hi, I'm Mike Canverger with Tricky Fast Studios. In this series of videos, I'm showing you how to build an endless runner in Cat Game Builder. If you haven't seen the previous parts, you may want to go back and watch them. In those videos, we set up the scene, added the title screen, built the player character, and added some hazards. In this video, we'll add a collectible for the player to pick up while running, and then we'll actually make the game endless. So to start, let's create the collectible. If you remember, under the level here, I've added a space for goodies. So we're going to add a new game object there. We're going to call that star. Now we're going to give that star an animator. We're also going to give it a sprite renderer and a box collider. Make sure you use the 2D version. So for the sprite that we're going to add, that's going to be, there we go. Okay. Again, we're going to have to set the order in the layer to 2. So that's above everything else. And for our box collider, we want that to be a trigger. And we're going to set this to 0.9. And then 0.6. 0.64. There we go. So you can see the triggers just around the star part. We don't want people going into this particle effect and having a trigger. So we also want to make this a little bit smaller. That looks good to me. Next up, let's make it a state machine. We're going to add a couple states here. We're going to add a default state and then a collected state. This is very similar to the hazard that we built. So default, collected. In the default state, we're just going to have a collision trigger. Oops. And when that gets hit, we're going to have a change state. And that change state is going to go to the collected state. Our collide target here is going to be the player, and we're going to collide into triggers. That's it for the default state. The collected state, well, first thing we're going to do is play a sound. Then we're going to add some score. So we're going to use modify integer value here to add to the score. And then we're going to disable the renderer so that you can't see the star anymore. And then we're going to, like the hazard, we're going to add a change state trigger. And that's going to listen for the player to go into the reset state. And when that happens, we're going to change our own state. All right, so let's start here. So for the sound, we're going to use this one. Keep playing after stop. Modify integer value. We're going to modify the score that's on the player. So we'll set that. How many points do we want to give them? Let's give them 50. And then we got to save that back on the player. Once again, this is target value equals source value operation, or plus in this case, modification amount. Now we're going to set the sprite renderer component disabled. So we just need to set that here. Now you can see that references the sprite renderer component we have right here. Next, we want to do the change state trigger. This one's going to be the player, and we're going to look for the reset state. And then we're going to change our own state to default. We also have to re-enable the component when we leave the state. So make sure you check revert on stop there. And that's it for the goodie. Let's find someplace to put this. How about right here? Okay. Now, as you've noticed, this level actually isn't endless. So we have a start and we have an end. It's pretty big. So I'm going to describe one way you could make your levels endless in an endless runner. This is probably the simplest way. But actually, before we do that, let's just change the state to default so that our star has a default state. So the simplest way to make this an endless runner is to have two copies of this level and to have them kind of hop over each other so that there's always one in front of the player. So to do that, we're going to make this into a state machine. We have a couple states here. We have a default and a reset state that we want to add. So we're going to change that to default. We're going to change that to reset. So in the default state, actually, let's go back up to our level here. Make sure that we set default as the default state. Okay. So the default state is going to have a proximity trigger to tell when the player has gotten past it, basically. And it's going to have a change state trigger, sort of the same way that the hazards do, because it's going to listen on the player. So for this proximity triggered action, we're going to add a move action and a change state action. And then underneath the triggered action here, we're just going to add a change state. Let's go through these. So this proximity trigger, we want to move it pretty far away. So we're going to set an offset. And we're going to use 140. And then the size is going to be 20. Collide target's going to be set to player. Everything else is default. So for the move action, we want to move the owner. We want to move relative. So we're just going to add this offset here. And we want to move double the size. So in this case, that's 211.18, which is double the size of this whole level. Duration 0, movement type duration. Change state action. So here we want to change all of our stars back to the default state. Kind of reset them. So to do that, we're going to reference them by path. Right? And we have them in goodies /star. So anything named star in the goodies game object, there's only one now, will get reset. So we're going to change that back to the default state. So now the triggered action here, we're going to wait on the player to enter the reset state. And when that happens, we're going to go into our own reset state. That should be it for this state. Let's move on to the reset state. So for the reset state, we want a move action and a change state action. In the move action, we're going to move ourself. This time, we're going to be absolute, and we're going to go to 0, 0, 0, which happens to be where this level starts. 0 duration or speed, movement type duration. So for the change state action, we're just going to change back to the default state. And there you go. That should be it for the state machine here. The next thing we need to do is duplicate this. So now we have two levels. One thing we have to change in this second level is its reset position. Now its reset position has to go back to 105.59, and its actual position has to be the same. So now if you see, that second level starts at the end of the first. So there we go. That should make this an actual end. One more thing you could do, if you have troubles with the player rotating, you can come back up here to the running state and add a new rotate action. Under the rotate action, you can set it to be continuous, give it a pretty big speed, and always set it to be 0, 0, 0. That way the player will always be facing the same way. So let's give this a try. We should have a completed runner now. You'll note that I didn't add any more hazards or goodies, so it's going to be kind of boring after the first section. Well, that's it for this video and for the Endless Runner. In this video, you should have created a collectible and made the level endless. I hope you found this video informative and useful. For more information on Cat and how it can help you prototype and build games faster, please visit trickyfast.com/cat. I'm Mike Hedberger with Tricky Fast Studios. Thanks for watching.